What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 13. So, Sonia has planned a trip to Jamaica for everybody, and she wants to make this a couples trip. And she reiterated over and over again that this is a couples trip, this is a couples trip, this is a couples trip. So Kenya, because she's not seeing anyone, she's not dating anyone, she's going to be taking her cousin, but unfortunately her cousin got sick. So she's going to be arriving in Jamaica alone. Now we see Sonia working out with her husband, and they're talking about the trip, and Sonia says that this trip is going to be drama free. I'm not sure why she said that. I don't know if she was just trying to fill up space, or if she was trying to just wishful thinking. I don't know, but like, girl, do you not watch reality TV? These trips, these vacations are all about the drama. You get everybody liquored up. They're drinking from sun up to sundown, and they're around a whole bunch of people that they don't like, that they don't feel comfortable around, that they cannot stand, and let the drama ensue. So if the fact that you're saying a drama free trip because it's going to be your business trip, good luck on that. So then we go to Drew and Ralph. So Ralph is writing a book about blended families, and how it is to be a step parent and had to navigate through all of that. And either he's writing about his own family or he's using his family as inspiration for this book. I'm not really sure, but either way, your girl Drew knows nothing about the book. She doesn't know what's in the book. He won't let her know what's in the book, but then he has the audacity to form his lips to ask her if she can write the foreword for the book. And Drew was like, I'm not going to write a foreword for a book that I know nothing about. Their whole situation is very strange to me. I've always said this. It doesn't make any sense how he does all of these things, behind her back. He lies to her. He hides things from her. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like they're living two separate lives. I don't even know how they can even call themselves married, because I have yet to see them act like a real married couple. Every time we are every time that we are watching Drew and Ralph, there's some type of secrecy, there's some type of conflict, tension, stress. He's sleeping in his son's room and on a bunk bed because he doesn't want to share a room with Drew anymore. He's taking off on these trips to other states, not telling anybody, just walks out the front door, gone for days, doesn't contact his wife, doesn't check on the kids, and then he comes waltzing back in after he's had his day of fun in the sun, comes waltzing back in like nothing happened. Their whole dynamic is completely strange to me. And Drew has no right to talk about anybody else's relationship when her own relationship is like completely strange, weird, makes no sense. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I just don't understand. Moving on from there. So they're in Jamaica. They've all arrived in Jamaica. They're in the van that's taking them to the hotel. And Sonia asks Kenya about her plus one. Kenya says her plus one got sick. Sonia doesn't believe it, just like she didn't believe it when Kenya says she herself had gotten sick. So Sonia makes everybody introduce their plus one, which I thought was really corny, because I'm like, y'all are grown. Y'all are on vacation together. Eventually, by the end, everyone's going to get to know each other. By the end of the vacation, all of y'all are going to know probably too much about each other. So let's skip all of the introductions, acting like this is the first day of school in the first grade. You stand up in front of the class and you introduce yourself and then say the most interesting thing about you. So when they get to the hotel, Sonia says that, she had designed Kenya's room really special because it's Kenya's birthday. Now, what she means by really special is she put a sash on the front door that said happy birthday. And then I guess they had some leftover rose petals from some honeymoon suite, and they sprinkled the rose petals all about the room. And I'm like, this is your special decoration for her. It's the thought that counts, because we know that Sonia is not a party planner, so we can't expect too much from her. So it's the thought that counts. Then we find out that Todd has stopped drinking, but so he talked about this when he was still in Atlanta, but he no longer drinks. And I thought maybe he was, battling a drinking problem, and so he was trying to quit drinking. Well, coming to find out, he's just detoxing, and he's going to be abstaining from alcohol temporarily, and at some point he's going to go back to drinking, which made no sense to me. So they're on the golf cart and they're going to the hotel suites, and Kenya locks eyes with this bystander, this cutie patootie, and they locked eyes, and so they turn back around and she gets his phone number, they exchange numbers, and she invites him to join them for dinner later on that night. And he was down for the cause, and Kandi was like, you know what, I don't have time for this, I'm hungry, I need to get to my room, and I need to get to my food. So when they got to the hotel, everybody's, in the hall or wherever, and they're eating. And Marla makes a big deal about Kenya meeting this guy because she makes it seem like Kenya was chasing this guy down, when in actuality, I think they had locked eyes. I think the guy showed interest, Kenya reciprocated the interest, and then they exchanged numbers. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like, this is what people do. They see each other, there's an attraction, there's a spark, and then, it goes from there. Marla, like, what's the big deal? So the first night in Jamaica, they're having dinner, and when they sit down for dinner, when they initially sit down for dinner, before everyone else got there, Sonia got there and Drew got there, and Drew was asking Sonia if her room was a mistake because it was a really nice suite. And Sonia was like, no, it wasn't a mistake. It was just a nice gesture on Sonia's part to give Drew and Ralph a really nice room. So everybody gets there and they're all trying to figure out exactly how old is Kenya's date, John. Everybody's guessing he's like were in his 20s. In actuality, the guy's 37, so he's definitely of age, and so he does not look 37 at all. He looked much younger. So then Sonia asks Marlo about her nephews, and Marlo says she didn't want to talk about it, that she'd rather talk about it the next day. And then Sheree asks Ralph about his book. Then Marlo brings up the issue of Ralph adopting Josiah, which I thought, this is the first night in Jamaica, we're having dinner. Can we keep the conversation light? Like, why are we going into these heavy subjects about children? And so Ralph and Drew explained that there wasn't going to be an adoption. And then so Marlo's confused. And then Marlo asks Drew specifically, so how do you feel about Ralph wanting to adopt Josiah and then changing his mind, and now he doesn't want to adopt Josiah? And I'm thinking, what kind of dinner conversation is this? You don't want to talk about your nephews, but you want to talk about the adoption process of their son? Like, what are you doing, Marlo? And so Drew explains that when Ralph talked to the biological father was not on board with Ralph adopting his son. And so then Ralph says that Josiah is going to have two dads who care for him, who love him. So, he's good. He's going to have two dads. And then Marlo says, well, I think, so basically you're just there for emotional support. You're not even going to take any kind of legal or financial responsibility for him. You're not going to put him on your taxes or anything. And then Kandi stepped in because somebody had to step in. So Kandi steps in, and Kandi was like, I think it's kind of weird that you are all up in their business like that, because how can you say that Ralph is not going to be legally or financially responsible for Josiah when the child lives in his home? And then Marlo turns on Kandi and says, well, what I think is weird is that you put your mother before your husband. So Marlo was just waiting for the opportunity to dig into Kandi. Now, I don't know exactly what the issue is between Marlo and Kandi, other than I'm assuming Kandi not participating in any of the events and dinners and parties or whatever that Marlo was planning for Sheree when Sheree got stood up by Tyrone. I don't know if that's why she's mad at Kandi, or I don't know if Marlo feels like when she went to Kandi telling Kandi that she needs help with her nephews, Kandi really didn't do much except give her advice. Like, Kandi didn't offer to take the boys, or Kandi didn't offer her money. I don't know what she was expecting from Kandi. I don't know exactly why Marlo has it in for Kandi, because with these women, and like on every other reality TV show, they argue, they have beef, they have feuds, then they make up, then they're arguing again, then they're making up again, and then it all gets lost. Exactly, okay, are we friends today or not? If we're not, why aren't we? So it seems like Marlo was just waiting to talk about Kandi and Todd and Mama Joyce, and so she had her opportunity and she went for it. And so Kandi was like, I do not put my mother before my husband. And so then Marlo's just starts digging deeper and deeper, so they're going back and forth now. And Then Marlo shouts out something about how Kandi is only known in Atlanta, and Kandi fell for the bait. And she was like, I'm not just known in Atlanta, I'm worldwide. And so they start going back and forth, right? And I'm just like, Kandi, why are you letting Marlo get under your skin? Because you know how Marlo likes to play really, really, really dirty. She likes to hit below the belt. She likes to roll in the mud with you. And the reason why she does this is because Marlo herself is a very hurt soul. She talks about her difficult upbringing, being in foster care, abandoned by her parents. So she's a very hurt soul, and all she knows how to do is to hurt other people. So I'm like, Kandi, don't fall for the bait. Just be like, okay, girl, you got this. You're right. I'm local. Nobody knows me. I haven't won any Grammys. I'm not internationally known. I'm not known to rock the microphone. You're right, Marlo. You're exactly right. But instead, Kandi wants to go toe to toe with her. And then on top of all of that, Todd jumps in. And then I was like, Todd, no. Let the women go at it. Because yes, Marlo was talking about you, Todd, but she wasn't talking to you. Candy's got this. So Todd jumps in and he tells Marlo that you bought your way into this group. I don't know if he meant the group like this season. She bought her way in to be on the show this season by being an official peach holder, or if he meant she bought her way to be on the show, period, even from way back in the day when she was just a friend of the show. I have no idea, but I'm assuming he means for her being an official peach holder. So it just got really, and then Marlo said that when Todd and Kandi first met, Todd had referred to Kandi as a country pumpkin when they first met in Africa, when he was still part of the production crew and he wasn't a cast member. And I'm just like, what? And then on top of all of that, Marlo in her confessional, she says that Kandi had no business bringing up her nephews in front of a whole bunch of people that Marlo really didn't know. But Marlo, you were talking about Drew and Ralph's son and whether or not Ralph was going to adopt him. That's very, very private. And you brought it up as dinner conversation with a whole bunch of people that they probably didn't know. I'm just like, Lord, Marlo, I don't know. I think what's bothering Marlo more than anything is what she's done to her nephews. I think that she herself feels guilty about kicking her nephews out. And the one thing that she was upset about that was done to her, being abandoned, nobody wanting you, she did the same thing to her nephews. I think that's what Marlo is really struggling with. And that's why she's lashing out at everybody at the dinner table, because I don't think she's really comfortable with the decision that she made. But whatever, you made your bed and I got to lie in it. And then during this whole entire melee, John, Kenya's date, left. He walked out. And I'm like, why did he leave? I know he couldn't have been bothered by this arguing because it had nothing to do. I mean, this was like probably the best dinner he'll ever be a part of. Like, why did he walk away and leave? Unless he wanted to walk away and leave and he was expecting Kenya to follow him. And he thought because everybody's yelling at each other, we can make a little getaway with nobody noticing. But I guess Kenya was too wrapped up in the argument to notice that. I don't know. That is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe. If not, don't worry about it. But thank you for stopping by anyway. And I'll talk to you later.